Well, hi! It's me, Mr. Grammar, and welcome to the next assignment. This one will be a remix of an existing project. So you got two choices. You can go online and remix it. You have to go click See Inside and click the remix button, or open up this offline version. It hopefully works. And I'm not going to update Adobe Air. And that's the kitty cat. That didn't work. Let's go open it a second time. Now it worked. Okay. So here's a project that this used to come with the old version of Scratch, version 1.4, that wasn't quite as pretty, didn't have as much stuff. But you hit play, and your timer starts counting, and you got an X speed and a Y speed. And here's what you can do: you start hold WASD. It's not the arrow keys like you might hope, and you start building up speed until, and you can see my speed gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I go faster until I run into the grass, and eventually, if I don't keep holding the buttons, my speed can go down to 0. But if I stay on the gray road and let go of the keys, I'm just rolling. So this is probably our first experience with Scratch and physics. We'll hope to do a little bit more with this. But physics are one of the cooler things you can do in computer simulations or computer games. They're also one of the harder things to understand. So let's start off easy. There's, the finish line is what makes what does it do? Resets the timer and says how long it took to go around. I think it took me 40 seconds to go around. This one's pretty basic, and then it resets the timer when the game starts and when you cross the finish line. So you're like, hey, wait a minute, that's cool. Check this out. I crossed the finish line in 2 seconds. So yeah, you can cheat on this one. You should have some, point over here that you have to hit first, and maybe a variable like crossed halfway point, and you can only set off the finish line when you've crossed the halfway point first. But anyways, instructions, that's them right there. And the ball is the interesting part, and let's go look at this, okay? I always wrestle between making you try stuff, figure stuff out on your own, versus showing you stuff, showing you how to do stuff. But this one, this is hard enough, I think, that it's good to just see somebody's code, okay? So notice that we usually, when we push the A, D, W, S keys, or the arrow keys, we usually turn and move steps, or point in direction, or change X's and Y's. Remember, this is Mario Brothers, and this is tanks or car games, race games. But the thing is, this one doesn't do that. It just changes a variable by, well, a really small number, a lot less than, really close to 1, negative 0.02, positive 0.02. And so X's and Y speeds by the positive and negative numbers. So, and then what does this do here? So it goes to the start line, it changes the size. Not much is going on here, but it's forever changing its X and Y position by its speed. And this is kind of like the engine of the car that always moves. So this part's very important, okay? Always, forever, change X by your speed amount and Y by your speed amount. And the cool thing is, as these numbers get bigger or smaller, you move faster and slower. And it kind of gradually gets bigger and gradually gets smaller, which is kind of a physics simulation. Well, let's hit play again and watch these variables. As I push down, notice the X speed's building. What's going to happen when I hit the green? Ooh. And that's the next interesting part of this script, and I've kind of hidden it at the bottom, is, well, let's watch this real quick. Okay, this just adds and subtracts your speed. Okay, so nothing fancy going on here. Now, so you might be tempted when I hit the grass to, instead of adding speed, to subtract speed. Okay, so if I'm going 5 miles an hour, and these are different numbers, right? But if I'm going 5 miles an hour, woo, -1, go 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. What's going to happen when I get to 0 miles an hour and I'm still touching the grass? If I say -1, I'm going to start going negative speed, -1, -2, -3, and I'll start flying this way. And it just doesn't work, okay? So your first reaction to minusing speed doesn't work. What we need is a speed that gradually approaches 0, okay? So the weird thing is here, instead of minusing speed, we multiply this speed by this number. And this number could be different, but what is this 0.95? Is that First of all, we need to understand what happens if we multiply their speed by 1. So if I'm going 5 miles an hour, and let's build up some speed. So I'm going 1, 2, 2-ish. If I'm going 2, and oops, and I got rid of that number. Oops. It multiplied it by 0 and instantly stopped me. If I multiply it by 1, the speed, what's any number times 1? It's the same number. So if my speed was 2 or 3 miles an hour and multiply it by 1, it's just going to keep staying 2 or 3 miles an hour. If I multiply it by a little more than 1, it's going to increase or grow. If I multiply it by a little less than 1, and so you're like, oh, hey, this is a percentage. 0.95 is 95%. So every frame that I'm touching the grass, get 95% of my speed. And then 95% again, 95% again. And that keeps shrinking the speed. Okay, so that's how my explanation is. So the speed gradually slows down when I hit the grass. First, well, in a minute, we're going to duplicate this. And we're going to, hey, you know, we can add another sprite. And what happens when I touch that blue, how would I make that a speed boost? Okay, and you could obviously make a little yellow speed boost or a pink speed boost, a sprite, anything like that. But how would I make it when I touch the color blue to boost the speed? By a little bit, okay? Well, what does this do? 0.95 is going to multiply by my speed and make me smaller. And remember, this is eventually going to get to 0. What's 0 times 0.95? Well, that's 0, okay? And that's the beauty of multiplying it by a percentage every time I'm touching the grass. Well, how do I go a little faster? If this is 0.05 less than 1, what's 0.05 more than 1? Let's try this. Okay, ooh, and watch my speed. Pew! I got a little speed boost on that arrow, okay? Hopefully that helps you understand what's going on in this project. Now, the main reason for this project, I kind of decided it would be a good lesson, is we're going to get to the clones in Scratch. But to do that, you need to understand duplicates and a few other things, okay? And the duplicates aren't anything fancy. It's when you right-click on a sprite and say, hey, duplicate it, okay? So our first thing is this is a 1-player game. Let's make it a 2-player game first, and then a 3- and a 4-player game, okay? So I need to use a lot of keys on the keyboard. And let's just do it, okay? Duplicate right now. Duplicate, okay? And notice it made another ball here, and that's awesome. And the second I hit play, I see only one ball, and I did my speed boost, and I rolled off into the grass. And you might be able to see a little separation there. There are 2 balls there. Let's drag one and prove it. And now that they're separated a little bit, you can see that they move like twinners, right? I'm still just pushing WASD. The scripts are exactly the same. And so your first reaction should be, hey, we need different keys, right? WASD, that's not good enough. So I'm going to go to ball 2. First off, I'm going to hit stop. Let's change the costume, okay? Oh, and I have an extra leftover costume there from previously. Oh well. And let's change the costume. Now, the cool thing about this in Scratch, you might not have done this before, but it's got the little white shadow, right? Or little white glare from a light source. You're like, did somebody paint that white and little shades of white? Well, that would be a lot of work. I'm going to get the paint bucket. I don't think this is going to work, but I'm going to paint it purple. And keep painting in here. And eventually I get a little red circle, and yeah, that's not quite good. So I want to show you a different painting tool real quick. I'm not sure if this is going to work great, but I'm going to draw a empty circle. How does this work? Yeah, we're going to draw a purple circle. I'm actually going to clear this off. Draw a little circle with the circle tool. And I'm going to give it a purple border. I'm going to hold down Shift to keep it locked. And now I'm going to get the paint bucket and fill it, not with purple, because then it doesn't have the shiny spot, but with a radial gradient, this circular gradient. If I do that, I get white on the outside and purple on the inside, okay? So it uses these 2 colors to draw the gradient. If this color, I'll click to switch them. If this was red, I get red on one end and purple on the other, and I don't quite want that, so I'm going to change, click them again, and change this red to, white, okay? Now I gradient, and I'm going to undo and try to click in the right spot, and it's not perfect. It doesn't look, as good as the other one, but it's good enough for me. So let's go clip on the costumes. Is this ball, it's bigger than the other one, which is kind of a problem. I want to select the shrink tool and make it a little smaller until they look the same. That looks close enough. Okay, got ball 2. It's a different color. It's kind of garish. And everything is the same, right? The keys are the same. The go-to spot's the same. Let's fix that right now. I'm going to hit play. You guys shouldn't go to the same spot. Ooh, and notice that when I hit play, they were told to go to the same spot, but they're a little bit off. If you've never seen this before, under the costumes, every costume has a center point. And this costume's center point is a little off. It's off to the side. If I move it clear over here and hit play, its center point is clear over. And it doesn't matter for some games, but when you make tank games and games with rotation, it matters a lot. Okay. All right, so let's change that. And now when I hit play, they go to the same spot. Let's move the purple ball over to the side, and it'll start not in the grass necessarily, but over there. And let's make that its go-to. And these X and Y speeds are the only variables in the game, and just so you know, they are for all sprites, which we've always done up to this point. The purpose of this project is for me to explain to you when you would use for this sprite only, okay? So let's hit play. And we got, oh gosh, speed boost, and we went off into the toolies. Okay, so let's get back on track. And notice, they still have the same controls. So let's switch WASD for the purple ball to the arrow keys. So A looks like it's going to be left, D looks like it's going to be right, W is going to be up, and S is going to be down. Don't believe me, look at your keyboard. And now we've got 2 separate controls. And you're like, awesome, now I got a 2-player game. Well, if this was using our traditional motion, change X's and Y's and stuff like that, you'd be right, we have a 2-player game. But right now, what we have is player 1 is moving WSD right now. Oh, that boost puts us right in the grass. Now, player 1's going to let go, and player 2 is going to start pushing the other way. And now what we have is 2 control schemes, WASD and the arrow keys, controlling the same variables. Okay, remember, I said earlier, this engine right here, forever change X and Y speed, or sorry, X and Y by the X and Y speed. Well, both of them have the same engine, which is fine, but they're also sharing the same for all sprites or public variables, okay? So that means there's only 1 X speed and 1 Y speed in the game. And if I made this a 3 and a 4-player game, we'd all be sharing the same speed, which is a horrible idea for a game. That speed boost just throws you off. Man, horrible speed boost. Actually, I'm not going to get rid of it. Yeah, let's change colors. Let's make it orange if I touch orange. And then maybe we'll put some orange out here. On both players. Oops, don't want to wreck it for 1 player. Okay, no more speed boost. All right, so you're like, okay, well, if I X speed and Y speed are being shared, then we need more. We need more variables. We need player 2 X speed and player 2 Y speed, and that is a perfectly fine solution. Okay, that works 100%. But if you were making a 3 and a 4 or a 10-player game, which is pretty impossible on a keyboard, you would start to think that's too much work, making 10 pairs of XY variables, XY speed variables, okay? So I want to show you a better way. So again, making player 2 speed, player 2 X speed, and Y speed is fine. You will probably, if this was a scoring game, you would definitely want player 1 score and player 2 score as variables. But I want to show you private variables right now, okay? So I'm actually going to I hate to delete this, but I think I'm going to delete it. And I'm just going to kind of do a cheap way to do the rest of them. I'll just paint bucket the outside. But check this out. Right now, X and Y speed are for all sprites. I'm going to go make for this sprite, I'm going to leave the variables there. I'm going to get rid of the space. I'll put an underscore X speed for this sprite only. Okay, and now make a variable Y underscore speed for this sprite only. Okay, now my underscore ones are the ones I want to keep, and I need to get rid of the public X and Y speed. Okay, again, for all sprites. That's bad because we're sharing the same speed. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go everywhere I see X speed, I'm going to change to X underscore speed. Okay. anywhere I see the x speed variable, I'm going to plug in the x underscore speed variable, and the same for y. Change it to y underscore. And notice these variables, the top ones above this line are public for all sprites. The ones under it are private for this sprite only, okay? And just, do it up to this point or exercise a little bit of faith, and in a second you'll see the power of this, okay? Just trust me. Okay, so anytime I see y speed, I want y underscore speed. And the underscore is actually just kind of looking forward to Python. Make sure you choose the one that's under the line, even though they look very similar. Python can't do variables, spaces in variable names, so I'm getting rid of that right now just to get you used to it. Okay, no more x speed or y speed variables that don't have underscores in them. Player 2's dead. We deleted him, so doesn't worry about it. Now check this out. I am going to right-click and delete x speed, and right-click and delete y speed, not the underscores, but the regular ones, and hopefully they just go away. If you've removed all references to them, they should delete fine. If not, you'll need to get rid of any scripts that use them if they don't go away when you right-click and delete. And now we're ready to roll. Check this out. By making those private variables, notice up here it says ball x speed and ball y speed when I show these variables. It's a little bit different than it was before. What's ball? Well, it's the name of this. If I call this ball 1, now these say ball 1, x speed and y speed. Let's right click and duplicate, and notice it saw a number at the end and it said, hey, let's change that number one more. And if I duplicate again, it'll be ball 3. We'll do that in a sec. I'm just going to get the paint bucket and do a regular fill, solid fill of purple, and get my outside purplish. This doesn't have to be perfect. You get the point. Okay, that's good enough. And check this out. This duplicate does go to the same spot. It uses WASD, so I'm going to go change the keys again. A is left, D is right. And you're like, oh, we just did this grammar. You're killing me. W is up, S is down, and check this crap out. I'm going to hit play. And now I got left, right, up, down. Hey, this guy's moving on his own accord. And now player 1, WASD, ball 1, moves on its own accord. Okay, no speed boost or anything. I turned that off. But check this crap out. Oh, what are you doing there? Go away. Y speed and X speed. I got copies of those. Maybe I should have saved the project and closed it and reopened it or something. That would probably fix it. But oh, and you're back. Oh, it means it means something I did wrong. Is there any reference to speed anywhere else? I don't think so. No, I'm not sure why it's doing that. But anyway, I'm going to check these boxes and show you. Now it says ball 2, X speed and Y speed, okay? These are, for this sprite only, private variables that are powerful. Now I can duplicate the heck out of this guy. Let's go make costume. Let's paint bucket you green. People might slow down when they hit the green ball. Let's do pink. And I got, ball 2 is pink and ball 3 is purple. And let's go find the scripts for ball 3. And I usually use IJKL for a third player. I for up. J for left. K for right. And down is, K is down. What am I doing here? L is right. Okay, so I'll hit play. IJKL, purple player, who is now player 3 or ball 3, is moving around. WASD, we got red player moving. And notice this only fires off on ball 1, right? So we got 2 ways to do that. We could duplicate this and say if ball 2 doesn't say it. Alternatively, we could drag this script over to the ball and say, hey, when the game starts, forever if, do I have a forever if anywhere? I'll make one. And if you haven't done much forever ifs before, it's kind of the guts of most Scratch games. That forever if block right there is the most powerful block in Scratch because it just always runs, and it's so nice. Forever if I'm touching, and notice when I copied that over, it's kind of a problem. They used to say if the finish line was touching ball 1. I copied it over, and now it says if touching ball 1. Well, if who's touching ball 1? This script is on ball 1, and it's kind of a problem. Ball 1, says if ball 1 touching itself, which isn't really possible. I mean, it's always touching itself. It's just that kind of ball. So it's not in the list of choices, so I need to say, hey, if I'm touching the finish line, then say, oh, and I don't have my own timer. That's a problem too. And we'd have to make 4 timer variables. So this game is actually kind of broken. Yeah, don't do it that way. Sorry. Took you down a dark path. If touching ball 2, say timer and reset timer, whatever. Okay, so this will actually say their time from the time the last person touched, because it gets reset right there, which is bad. You could make 3 or 4 timer variables for each player and never reset the timer, just kind of calculate every time they touch and say minus their last time and stuff. So anyway, all that works, and let's move on to the next sprite. And let's duplicate it. We're going to do ball 4, change the color. You can finish this off. You choose your own color. And before you're done, I want you... Yeah, I made a ball game once. I made a copy of this. I'm actually going to put it in the folder. It'll be like 27 example, 27 4-player example or something like that. I had it so you could like jump and shock each other and knock each other off the path, and I can't remember what else it had, but rather than me go through and explain all that, I want you to just add what you can. Got a speed boost, you can put a speed boost somewhere else. I do want you to modify the track, okay? So if you go to the stage, there's actually a second track that looks different. You're like, whoa, that's kind of cool. You can use the eyedropper tool and repaint your own version of the track. You can make it look completely different, but you'd have to use different colors for the grass and stuff. Actually, just the grass and your speed boost if you have one. You could make it, if they bump into each other, that they bounce, but that's actually kind of hard. When one ball hits another, if you say is touching, change direction by 180 degrees or something like that, and you can't actually change the direction because this is using X and Y speed variables, not the direction. What you might want to do is flip their speeds, right? If I'm traveling at 100 miles an hour this way and I hit a ball, maybe I could probably only flip those numbers around and start traveling 100 miles an hour this way. The problem is if one senses that it's touching the other ball and it moves back, this one won't have time to sense that it was touching. Okay, it's called a race condition. It's kind of like in Scratch, where you have this. If you have, hey, when the green flag is clicked, when the green flag is clicked, when the green flag is clicked, set a variable to 0, set the variable to 1, and set the variable to 2. Okay, this is called a race condition. When I hit the green flag, what's going to happen? Well, you think, well, it's going to set to 0, then 1 and 2, because that's how life works. But what is the computer going to do? Which one of these is stronger or more powerful? And the problem is you never know. The different computers, different operating systems could change the order these are called. When I hit play, let's go see. Variable does equal to, let's switch these two blocks around. And see, I hit play again. Variable equals 0 now, so it looks like this one is the one that runs last. But you had no way of knowing that, okay? So that's the problem. When two things collide, and sorry, that's my 30-second explanation of when two things colliding, you say, hey, you do this and you do this when you're touching each other. What you have to do to fix that is when you sense the collision, broadcast. And the problem is when you broadcast in a 4-player game, you have to say who hit who, which is pretty darn difficult, okay? So let's go see how I did it in my other project. I'm actually going to pause for a sec. This might be the end of the video, but I should be able to get the other one open. Good luck, enjoy making this, and please understand the power of private variables when you duplicate, that every version of that duplicate gets its own private variables, which unfortunately are hard to see. Here, there we go, ball 3, X speed and Y speed. Okay, I'll pause for a sec. This one was 25 minutes. All right, here's my 4-player race game. I just want to explain some things. And it looks like they all start at the same spot. This was kind of sloppy. They do all use private variables. I think, oh, spacebar changes the map. I don't know if that was true in the other one. Maybe it was. Everyone has like a shock key and a jump key. Yeah, this is great. So I think WSD moves. Q is jumping. And like, this isn't 3D. Are we really jumping? Well, let's go see. What does Q do? You can't jump while you're jumping, so I have a variable that says, hey, are you jumping? When I start jumping, I set it to 1, and then I change the size, right? This is just changing the size of the ball. And then I have this thing that says, hey, I'm jumping is 0 now. These are kind of Booleans, true and false. Jumping, I'm true, I started jumping, and then it's false when I'm done jumping. Why do we do that? I think you can avoid collisions when you jump over something, which was supposed to be the point. Now, how did I do collision? Oh, shocking. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, I didn't send a message of who I'm shocking. When I press E, I change to a costume that has the shocks. And what do the other balls do if they're touching the yellow color? They go buzzing off. So let's see what happens. Somebody else is going to come over here and get shocked. Oh, it looks completely random. Okay, so if touching color yellow, sorry, it was on player 1 too, right? If touching color yellow, oh yeah, if not jumping and touching color yellow, set your X velocity speed to the speed times some random number between -2 and +2. So it didn't bounce, it just completely changed it random. Okay, if I wanted to bounce, I'd probably multiply their speeds by a negative number. And that should work actually. Okay, so again, looks like this player's using FHTG, and then player 3 is using IJKL, and then this player's using the arrow keys. And do we have anything? We got jumping, shocking, and I don't know, there's no speed boosts that I see. Yeah. So anyways, make your tracks, knock yourself out. If you're ahead of everybody else, you can spend some extra time on this. If not, just make a speed boost, make it 4 players, understand why you're duplicating, and then call it done. You can use mine as an example, but obviously don't duplicate it. That's bad. So we'll see you in the next project, and thanks for watching.